steal my exact formula how to start a drop servicing business. So first of all, what exactly is drop servicing? So drop servicing is basically just selling services to customers that someone else actually does. The way it works is basically what a client pays to you minus outsourcing costs and client acquisition costs. That equals your profit. And later on, by the way, I'm going to tell you some really good strategies how to save on your outsourcing costs and client acquisition costs. So really quick, a few things what you can actually drop service. So pretty much any service really out there, such as design, website design, social media, branding, copywriting, market research, social media management, video editing, customer support, so on and so forth. I will leave actually some more. I have a file of different ideas, so check out the description for that. By the way, I created a blueprint for the best business model out there, so check the description. Now, one really important point I want to touch on is a lot of people say when they talk about drop servicing, they say basically just go to Fiverr and just find different gigs there and drop service that. But instead of doing that, why I say maybe that's not really the best option is because most of the time that's going to be one-time project. It has usually very small margins because Fiverr puts on 20% and you don't really see that because that is on the freelancer side. And then freelancers usually as I mentioned before, I'll show you where to get really cheap freelancers. So the freelancers on Fiverr, they already charge a little bit more premium. So the margins are going to be really difficult. And usually it's just very small projects. And I'm not saying that it is impossible. You can definitely make some money, but I'm saying there is a better way that I'm going to show you. By the way, I have created a document of 50 best growth hacks used by the biggest marketers out there. Check the link below. So the right way to do this, I would say, is to actually just find freelancers yourself that you're going to work with directly and find bigger long-term projects. And obviously you really want to make sure that you professionally package all of those services, and I'm going to touch up all of the things how you can do that and what exactly you need. Really quick, by the way, let me just touch on some of the benefits of drop servicing. So first of all, there are minimal costs to start. You can almost start for zero. You don't need any experience really. You have advantage of salaries around the world, something I'm going to talk about later. You have potential long-term clients, recurring revenue, which is absolutely amazing. Easy niche testing, again, because of this whole method, because you don't need your own experience here. And you can also build out a brand. So these are just a couple of the main points. So now let's talk about how exactly do you find a service. So first of all, one easy way to go about this is you can just go to Fiverr, but instead of doing just reselling Fiverr gigs, you want to do something a little bit more. But it's a good way to basically start doing your research. Go there and find best performing freelancers or best performing gigs and just see, okay, what is hot right now. And one of the things you can do as well, by the way, if you go on Fiverr, you can see the orders in queue rather than just accumulated amount of orders, because that might have been over a long period of time. So a little trick there. And by the way, you can go to Upwork, Freelancer, so on and so forth, all of these different platforms. And what you want to do is, once you saw what is kind of performing well, then you want to basically narrow down a niche. So for example, instead of just having design as one huge niche, you want to do something more specific like design for yogis. So you go super ultra specific And then from there, you can always go broader as you're starting to scale. But just to get that start, it's going to be way easier if you are very, very specific. And by the way, I made another video of what I call inverted niche approach. So I will link that. That's, I think, the best way and completely different way from what everyone else says how to find a niche. I think that's the only way you should go about finding a niche. So what you can also do, aside from looking at the freelancers, looking at the gigs, you can also go and see what are some of the fastest growing agencies and just see what they are doing and try to kind of figure out, reverse engineer what is happening. And I'm not going super in depth here. I'm going to leave, by the way, another file where it's a little bit more detailed. It's basically an SOP of this whole thing I'm talking about. So check that out as well. So once we got our service, we basically want to do some testing. So first of all, the most basic thing is you go to Google Trends, you see whether this is increasing in popularity or it's decreasing. Very important, you want to find out what is the competition. So this can be going on SEO, going on Google, going on socials, seeing paid media, whatever exactly it is. And what you want to see is, are there any successful competitors? And all the people, if they see, oh, there's someone out there, that means it's too saturated. It doesn't necessarily mean it's too saturated. You kind of need to weigh in, okay, what's the total addressable market? What are, let's say, the search volumes for that specific service? How many suppliers there are? It might be there's someone that's super well established, but they might be the only person within the niche and there's a huge demand. So actually what they did for you, these successful competitors, they basically just proved the fact that this is already working. And that means that you might be able to do this as well. And obviously take this with a grain of salt. Obviously do your research. Sometimes it might be too saturated, so keep that in mind as well. But what you want to do is you want to find actual numbers. So not just have a look and kind of like try to guess, oh, is this saturated, is it not? No, you need to decide or look into actual facts. So for example, just to touch up really quick on this, let's say in terms of SEO, if I look for certain services, again, I can see the search volume. There are certain tools. I'll try to leave the links for the different tools, but you can see the search volume. You can see the traffic that the website gets, and you can actually even see the sources where they're getting that traffic from. So you can really, see quite a lot of actual numbers. With social media, it's super simple. You just see what's the engagement, views, comments, all of that kind of stuff. With paid, again, you kind of just need to go out there, see if people are running ads for your specific service. If they are, one little thing you can do is basically you can see how long they have been running specific ads for. If someone runs ad for a long time, that means that ad is generating money. They wouldn't be doing it if it wouldn't be generating money. So that's like a good indicator that, okay, this is a successful thing. And obviously you can go way more in depth, but this is just to give you a little bit of understanding of a few quick things that you can do. And then what you want to also do is you want to see what are your actual costs. So if you're outsourcing, how much is it going to cost for you to complete certain tasks, and then just see what your competitors are charging. And it's not that you want to outbid them and make it cheaper, but you want to see that, okay, you at least are competitive and you will still have good margins, because rather than being in the red ocean, you want to concentrate on maybe just building out better brand and just having maybe a unique point that allows you to sell better than your competitors, rather than just lowering price and that's it. That's not really a way how you're going to win. So once that is done, you want to find freelancers. And this is what I mentioned, why Fiverr might not necessarily be the best option, because there are some other websites where basically you just pay one-time fee and you can hire people for as cheap as $500 a month to work full-time for you. You just pay that one-time fee and then you work directly. Again, I will leave all of the links. I actually have some guides how to hire virtual assistant or how to just outsource work in general, where I go step by step. So check that out. But this makes it way cheaper. And also you just build that relationship when you work one-on-one with someone that is going just to be more efficient, because they are going to know exactly what you want. They will know exactly the way that you work. So it just makes the process, at the beginning maybe it's a tad bit more complicated, but after some time it's going to actually be much easier and much more efficient as well. So what I would say to do is, because one of the things as well is you don't need to necessarily hire someone full-time at the beginning. You can hire part-time, but I would say ask them to commit at least a minimum amount of time, so that you know that, okay, once you start getting those orders from clients, you can fulfill those orders. So you have people committed at least, let's say 10 hours a week or whatever it is, if you have work for them. And if you don't have work for them, you can agree that, okay, you're not going to be paying them. You're basically just paying per hour. That's just to minimize your risk when you are starting out. And another thing as well I will say is have more than just one freelancer. A lot of times, things happen in life. This is why services isn't necessarily the easiest business, is because if someone gets sick or whatever, they have family emergency, whatever it is, now you're stuck with this project that you can't fulfill. So I would always say have more than one person who can do the job just in case. Also, what you can do just to take it to the next level is you can track the work done. So there are certain tools that allow you to track all of the different projects, the tasks within the project, so you can really get good estimates over time, how much time it takes to complete certain things, how much that costs. It can actually even track like the productivity of your freelancers and take even like screenshots, so you can basically see, okay, how they go about doing work and all of that kind of stuff. And that's actually why also I like having more than one freelancer doing same exact task, because then using all of these different softwares, I can very easily see how they go about doing the task and how efficient they are in the task. And sometimes, one person might be twice as efficient, as good at doing a certain task than the other person. So it doesn't make sense to hire the first person rather than the second person. And the last thing is also you just want to have task management software, obviously, because you just want to have everything organized, all of your SOPs, all of those kind of things, just to make everything a very easy, simple process. So now, once you have found your freelancers, you want to build out your website. And basically, to build out your website, first of all, you will need a domain name. Then you have a few different options how you can go about. So one of the options is to get a hosting and just to get a WordPress website. This is very common practice, and it's fairly easy. It's a super cheap option. I'll talk about the price in just a second. I would advise to get a professional theme, just to invest a little bit of money, because honestly, that's one of the things how you're going to stand out from everyone else, and that's how you can charge more money. If your website really looks like crap, you're not going to be able to charge premium price, because it's just an image thing. It's just how people's brain works. So you really want to, I would say, invest a little bit of money and just make it look a little bit more professional. If you make it look fancy, then you can charge premium prices, even though you're actually just delivering same services. It's stupid, but that's just how life is. And actually, I have a little trick if you're using WordPress, how to get a free professional theme that costs $250 usually. So I will leave some links for that. Check that out. Another way what you can do is you can get Funnel Builder. So this is one of the softwares that basically just has everything together, because for example with WordPress, you will need to also, depending what you do, you might need to get email marketing software, you might need to get some other tools if you want to build out a sales funnel. There might be a few different plugins that you're adding on, whereas with like a funnel builder, or sales funnel builder, landing page builder, whatever you want to call it. You can build out a whole funnel. You can do A/B testing on your offers to see how well they are converting. You have different upsells. You have email marketing already integrated. Basically, it's really all in one type of platform, so it makes it's a little bit more pricey, but actually there is one that is completely free, so I will link that software. But usually it's a little bit more pricey option, but it's just very, very simple, and a lot of times it might actually even make more sense for you to go with that. And if you want, you can use Shopify as well, but Shopify is usually a little bit more just for physical products. So I would say the other options are probably better, but you can do it technically with Shopify as well. Or you can just do super simple invoicing if you want, if you don't want to create a website, if you really just somehow, you have referrals maybe, and you're just reaching out, there are certain apps that you can use to just send people invoices, and that's it. But I would definitely suggest to, again, build out a nice looking website. I will try to leave some resources where you can very easily, even if you don't have the design skills, don't be afraid, you can still build out a really professional looking website that's going to allow you to charge way more money. So then after that, as I mentioned, you get email services. So this might be private email that you get basically just to, instead of using, let's say, like a Google email, you get your company.com type of email. And then you also get email automations. You also get lead signups, so the signups on your website, all of the opt-ins if you have like pop-ups, things like that. And again, this is kind of the same thing as well, that not everyone does this with service business, but you can set up email automations, and basically you can nurture people if they don't sign up with your services right away. You can nurture them in with additional information and get them sign up later. And I love email automations because you just set them up one time and it's going to keep on nurturing people and generating you money. It's actually the best ROI, return on investment, that you can get. So now the total costs here, basically the domain is just going to cost you around $10. I will leave a website where I buy all of my domains. Don't buy them from GoDaddy and places like that, because you're going to have some issues later in the future. I have heard a lot of nightmares when it comes to that. When it comes to the website, if you're using WordPress, it can be as cheap as $4 a month. A theme, again, depends how you exactly use it. Actually, yeah, if you use it yearly, it's $89, lifetime $250. But again, I'll try to leave a link how you can get it for free. Email, it's going to be, actually you can start with free trial, and after that it's only $10 a month, again, from the one that I use. And then if you're using something like sales page builders, you can start anywhere from $15 to $40. They have free trials. And again, there is one software that I use that is completely free to start out with, that is very advanced as well. But yeah, usually this is going to be a little bit more expensive option. And then the last thing is customer acquisition. And this is where most people get stuck. And I'll talk about this in 1 second. So this, obviously, it depends how much you're going to pay for this, depending on what exactly you choose to do. So let's actually get into that right now. Finding clients, your customer acquisition. So there's bazillion different methods how you can do this. One of the most common ways is cold emails or cold messaging, and there are certain ways. Again, I have some content that I created on cold email. Basically, you can set up email addresses, you set up a bunch of different inboxes, and you scrape internet for email addresses, and then you can be sending out literally thousands of emails to your prospects. And it's really, if you do it right, you need to not annoy people, but also all of this stuff is basically automated. You can use certain softwares, you can use AI, all of those things to make it really good. And again, I will leave all of the resources. I have tested out a bunch of these. I have a website where I compare all of the different softwares. So it can be a great way. And I would say this could be a way that you still need to pay some money, because again, you need to pay for the software. You can't just do this manually, send emails. emails. It doesn't make sense, but I would say it's not as expensive as it is compared to maybe some of the other methods. One thing I will say, a lot of people, they're like, oh, cold emails, cold messages, I will just send out, 10, 20 emails, 20 messages, or like 100 or 200. No, honestly, you will need to send out hundreds and hundreds, thousands of emails to start getting clients. So it's a numbers game, and that's why you want to use automation software to do that, because manually it doesn't really make sense. You could outsource it to a VA, but you might as well just use tools. It's going to be way cheaper and more actually effective, because you can track all of the metrics and see all of the performances as well. Another way is running ads. So this, I would say, is a little bit more advanced, but this can obviously be a great way to do this, because you can find that very specific targeting, especially if, let's say, you're running something like Google Ads. So you can see if someone is Googling, design for yogis, you can basically target those specific keywords and your services can pop up there. Depending, how good you are, what kind of ads you want to run and all of that, it can make sense for you to do that. I really love content funnels as well. So this is a little bit what I mentioned as well with the email automation. That's like one part of the content funnel. But basically you can use organic, you can use YouTube videos like I do right now, and I sell services as well. So, from this, some people might go on to get some of my services, but basically you get people to one piece of content, you go them through like the different pieces of content, you basically like nurture them. Again, I will leave some links how to do this more in depth, but basically you will get people into your email list. From your email list, you're sending them different information, and then from there you might want to send them back to your social media and create this flywheel type of thing and really nurture them until they're ready to purchase your services. Because honestly, a lot of people, they might not be ready right away, so you do need to put in that work and effort. But once they have a bunch of contact, and that's why I like content funnels as well, because content funnels also work as sort of a way to show your authority and to show how well you know specific topic, your expertise. And a lot of people that I talk with that have super tiny YouTube channels or really tiny Instagrams, they're actually generating crazy amount of money, because it's just such a great way when you hear someone talking about something and you see that, oh, they know this really well. It just, the conversions work completely different way. You don't need to convince them anymore. You can just send them straight to checkout. You don't need to be sending them to a sales page anymore. You don't need to hop on a call with them, Then I would say the last way, if you don't really want to go with all of these different marketing ways, and obviously there's way more marketing ways than this. Again, go to my website. I actually have like a list of all of the different marketing ways, like 100 different ways. What you can do is you can use job websites. So you can go on Upwork and Freelancer and all of those kind of platforms, and you can basically just, again, you have your freelancer, you just package those things nicely, you create, you brand it, and you can go on the platforms and you can start out like that. I would say that's a little bit more difficult, because again, you have so much competition on those platforms. So now, you're in the ocean with a bunch of fishes, and it's difficult to basically stand out. So ideally, I would suggest to maybe go with cold email, maybe do ads, maybe do some content if you can. Combine all of those things actually, or do some other marketing methods as well, rather than just the job websites. But that's for you to decide. And again, check out, I will link a lot of different options. So last couple of tips, these are pretty important as well, is first of all, you want to make sure that you have good margins. And one thing that a lot of people do, they're like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm paying the freelancer, and I'll just take like 50% of that. That sounds amazing, But what you have to do is you have to calculate your acquisition costs. It's a little bit sort of egg and chicken problem, because you don't know your customer acquisition costs until you start acquiring your customers. But basically, okay, how much is it going to cost you? And you can do some estimates. When it comes to cold email marketing, obviously you don't know exactly the numbers, but you can kind of see, okay, if I send out X amount of emails, I can probably expect X amount of conversions. And that kind of depends on, how good your offer is, how good your emails are, your whole strategy. But at least probably go on conservative side, obviously, but at least you can have a little bit of an idea of how that can work. So you always need to keep that in mind, that, okay, maybe I'm charging $1,000 for a service, but let's say my freelancer is only $250. And I might think, oh, I can just actually charge $500, but my customer acquisition cost might be another $250. So now, freelancer plus customer acquisition is $500. So I need to charge, maybe now I can't charge $500. I'm just gonna break even. I need to charge, $1,000 or whatever it is, depending how much of a margin you want. Another important thing is recurring services is something that I really love, and this is why I was saying that Fiverr might not be the best option, because most of those services, they are one-off, and acquiring the customer is the hardest part. But once you acquire them, if you provide good service, if you have them on recurring service, then you will keep on getting that stable money unless they drop off at some point, which a lot of people will, but that's fine. This is way, 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 way better. And I would definitely suggest you find a recurring service rather than one-time service. And again, what you really want to do is you want to niche it down as much as possible and expand from there. Knowing the service can also help, but I would say don't just focus on that. Just you can go for actually what is performing the best, where you see there is some sort of opportunity, and always do tracking and testing. I can't emphasize enough. That's why I was saying that having perhaps a funnel builder, that can help a lot, because you can see actual stats of your conversions, of your A/B testing things. Having your automated email sequences, you can basically see, okay, how many people are converting and all of that kind of stuff. And you want to always test, because sometimes small tests that you will have, whether it's on your sales page, whether it's within your email sequence, it can make a massive difference, and it can break your business, or it can make it really successful. So that's pretty much it, and I will leave a whole template and more information how to go through this whole process.